So we're in Psalm 19, and we have just begun it. This is a Psalm of David, and it was a Psalm of worship. Now, this Psalm makes a great apologetic. In other words, these first few verses declare, what we would call the evidence of God in creation, and support the argument for supernatural, intelligent design behind all of creation. I always say this: information plus order equals intelligent design. When we look at the heavens and the world and creation, we see information and we see order. And wherever you see information and order, there was a mind. There was a great intelligence behind it. Simple illustration is if you're walking through the forest and you see rocks scattered, you don't think anything about it. Randomness, even though those rocks may be laying in accordance with their molecular structure and all that, but if you see rocks stacked up, you don't think, wow, look what the wind did. You think, wow, somebody stacked those rocks. So when we see random things, we think of natural causes. But when we see order and information, if those rocks had things written on them, then you would see a mind, you would see design and intelligence. So when we look at creation, we see intelligence, we see a designed effort, we see a creative effort. And so we know there's a creator. Well, Psalm 19 is an apologetic, at least in the first part, that tells us who our creator is and tells us his message is woven into all creation. But I say all that to get to this point. It wasn't, I don't think, the sense of it was that it was first and foremost an apologetic. It was first and foremost an adoration. David is a poet. He's a songwriter. He's a worshiper. He's a thinker. He takes time to think, and he observes the world around him. And I can imagine David on some quiet night or some long day. Maybe this goes back to when he was keeping sheep. I don't know. In terms of when these thoughts would have occurred to him. But maybe it was a time when he was overwhelmed and he just went out for a long walk and he began to contemplate the cosmos and the order of the planets and the sun and the moon and the stars, and he began to contemplate the turning of the day into night, night into day. And these are the words that he writes, verses 1 through 6. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. What is David explaining here? He's explaining that God talks. He's explaining that God is talking to the whole planet through his creation. That his message, before we even open up the written word, before we even open up the message of the gospel in Jesus and the life and death and burial of Jesus, we can look around and we can see creation declaring the glory, the majesty, the power, the beauty, the wonder of God. The firmament, the heavens, shows his handiwork, shows his ability, shows his power, testifies that he is all-powerful. He is infinitely good. He has created a beautiful and a wonderful and a good creation. You think about the chaos of our world today, the chaos of our country. You hear the news and the talking heads, and if you pull away from that, that just brings you down. That just brings your attention and your emotions and your view of life down. But when you get out and you look around and you look up, all of a sudden the noise of men, the brokenness of mankind goes quiet. And suddenly you see the heavens are functioning, the earth is functioning, the rotation of the earth, the rising of the sun, the journey of the sun across the sky, the setting of the sun. And verse 2, he says, day unto day, day to day, the heavens and the firmament, okay, they utter speech. They're speaking. And every day is another message from God. And to the world, the message is God is good, God is loving, God wants you. You can worship him, you can know him, you can come to him. To us, the message is, hey, God's still in control. God is the author and the finisher. And his speech to me today, his gift to me today, his first gift to me today, my waking moment was the rising sun. It's like, good morning. I'm still making the earth rotate and the sun rise. I'm still in control of these things that hold your existence and hold your survival, hold your life together. It is kind of comical to me, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be cognizant of environmental things, but it is comical to me that mankind thinks he's going to save the world. He's going to save the environment or escape the planet once we overpopulate it. Such silliness, such foolishness. Day to day utters a speech. Night to night shows knowledge. God's knowledge is always pouring forth from his creation. And it doesn't take long to get out into it, take a walk, watch a snowfall, watch the leaves finish their turning. I went out for a bike ride yesterday, and I think I did about 15 miles yesterday along the Farmington River. Just beautiful. It's been interesting to see that stretch of land, really that whole Farmington loop. It's been really interesting to see it at every season. Now, what I need to do this winter, I guess I can't go riding, but I can go walk it some. But I started riding that trail in the early spring. So the trees were still bare, but they were starting to get those little green tips. You could still see through the trees, and you could see, through the forest, the homes, the river, all that. And then little by little, those trees, every day, every other day I was out there, and those trees started to grow leaves and blossom, and it just got more beautiful, little by little, the colors, then the greenery. And then by, early June, it was lush and green, and you couldn't see very far, but it was just enclosed with this canopy of leaves. And you'd go in and out of the sunlight, in and out of the shade. Different times of the day, sometimes morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes later in the day. And different parts of the trail. And then coming into the fall, they start to change. I think early September actually were the first times I saw the leaves starting to change. And then little by little, those changes started to happen. And then, boy, October, it exploded. It was so beautiful. And I'm telling you, every day, it was just seeing the hand of God, seeing the artistry, the creative power, the genius, the brilliance, really the love. And that's why I say this is more than apologetic. This is an adoration. David is declaring with wonder God's amazing existence and how he speaks to us through creation. He says in verse 3, there is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. So every place on the planet, God's talking, God's calling out to mankind. God's saying, I love you. I painted this for you. I did this for you. He doesn't need it. He did it for us. So no speech or language. He's not subject to politics. He's not subject to cultures. He's not subject to linguistic barriers. No. The voice of creation is heard all over the world every day to day, night to night, and has been for thousands of years. In them, verse 4, their line is gone out through all the earth. I'm curious about that word line. It's a cord for measuring. So what he's saying is their course, they're right on schedule, they're right on course, and it's measured, it's planned, it shows deliberate, it shows there's an architect here, and this is working on a timeline and a plan. Their line has gone out through all the earth. So the whole earth can look up and see we are operating in a programmed environment, in a structured, carefully ordered environment. Now, again, for the unbeliever, that's apologetic. God exists. You will account to him. You need him. Run to him. Jesus died to save you. He'll come into your life if you'll ask him. But for the believer, it's a source of adoration and assurance. It's a source of great comfort and confidence that, the states can't count their votes properly, and we can't figure out who the president is, and we can't figure out how to control a microscopic virus, and we never will, but we can rest in God, that he's got everything on an architected, well-scheduled schematic, and it's all programmed according to his timeline. Their line has gone out through all the earth, their words to the end of the world. So everybody has access to God. Everybody in that sense has equal access to God. In terms of will they respond to him in faith and worship or not. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. The idea here is, let me just take a quick look. I'm sorry to take a little extra time. I want to catch that phrase. In them hath he made a tabernacle for the sun. Maybe a modern vernacular way to say it is he's made a home in the heavens for the sun. But the idea being that, a lot of people over the ages have worshiped the sun. But this verse says, no, God even made the sun, and he put it on a course. He put it on a trajectory, so it comes and goes. And again, from David's perspective, it looks like it's coming out of its sanctuary and going back into its sanctuary. But the idea that God controls it all. God is the author and finisher of these things, and he did it for us. Hey, you know what? I want to stop there. So we're going to pick it up in verse 5 and 6. And we'll lean into these things going forward. But thank you for sharing a few minutes with me today. I hope you'll get some quiet time today to just look around. Okay, like I'm sitting in my kitchen right now. It's morning. I'm looking outside, and it's still a little bit of a haze. But you never know about the political turmoil and the health uncertainties. You never know about all that when you look at the fact that God's world is operating just on the plan he put it on. And so is your life, okay? He handles your life well, and he will continue to do so.